various things the Rebbe said about the coming of Moshiach. There was a great article by Rabbi Alfenbein, who put together a few interesting tidbits about the Rebbe's guidance of understanding about the coming of Moshiach. In 1970, Rabbi Tuvia Pellis asked the Rebbe about the faith, the coming of Moshiach, what it means. He asked the Rebbe, does faith in the coming of Moshiach mean to always be in a state of yearning, always be in a state of like, you're always asking and always waiting and always wanting for the coming of Moshiach? Or you're just supposed to believe in general the Moshiach is going to come one day? That's what he asked. He told the Rebbe very candidly that I don't feel either way. I don't feel even a minimal yearning for the coming of Moshiach, and I don't mind if Moshiach comes, but I don't feel that I'm missing it. Not because I'm so full of myself and I'm so satisfied with the way the world is. I just don't feel this need for the coming of Moshiach. So what am I meant to do? So Rebbe responded that if your faith in coming of Moshiach will motivate you, will energize you, will animate you to perform mitzvahs practically, then you'll feel the belief in the coming of Moshiach. And then he said that if you look into the Rambam and you see how the Rambam describes the coming of Moshiach, and you'll see how the reward, how great it will be, how will be so immersed in Torah, then you won't need to try to generate feelings of yearning. It will be something that's natural. Then he asked the Rebbe, Rabbi Pellis asked the Rebbe, we find a lot of things happening nowadays that seem to indicate Mashiach's coming. For example, the Talmud says that before Mashiach comes, a lot of insolence, a lot of chutzpah. People will be very arrogant and insolent, and it's something that, unfortunately, a lot of negative things the Gemara says will happen before the coming of Mashiach. So Rebbe responded that just like in Egypt, the hardest time of exile was in the last 86 years, so too there are some things in the exile which are harder specifically before the coming of Moshiach. He asked him about various things, like there's a Gemara about arrogant insolence, there's a Gemara about inflation. And so he said that we find about Egypt also that there are some things which are negative. I just want to point out, they've also said in the positive sense, a lot of things about the coming of Moshiach which we which aren't negative, which are positive, we're going to taste from soon, and because we're going to taste from soon, Hashem gives a little bit of them before the coming of Mashiach. Like for example, the Rebbe spoke about the immigration of all these the immigration of all these Jews to Israel is a taste and a preparation for the time of the coming of Mashiach when all the Jewish people will move to Israel. Although we, Baruch Hashem, we're very comfortable and we live in a affluent time in comparison to previous generations, well, everyone said, if you think about how Moshiach comes, the revelation of Hashem, in a similar way that it was in the Bais Hamikdash, and how your grandfather and our grandparents were there in the Bais Hamikdash and they saw Hashem's presence. So if you think about that and you meditate on that, so then when you start to pray the evening prayers, the morning prayers, and you say the words, may Hashem bring Mashiach Mehira, Hashem bring Mashiach soon, just by thinking about what that's going to be like, the revelation of Hashem, that will automatically generate this amazing feeling of, I want this now. One of my teachers, Rabbi Melech Tzibel Shalom, who was the mentor for thousands of students in Yeshiva in Morristown, he got a letter from Rabbi Yeshai Zusef Feldman, who was then learning in Israel, and he told him what happened one year in 1962 after farbrengen. Everyone was leading a farbrengen, and they were speaking about the coming of Moshiach, how Hashem's light will be revealed in the world. And after the farbrengen was over, the Rebbe left the farbrengen, and so did Rabbi Shmuel Levitin, a great mentor of many. And Rabbi Shmuel was walking in front of the Rebbe was walking behind him, the Rebbe caught up to him, and Rabbi Shmuel turned to the Rebbe and he asked the Rebbe, isn't it true that Moshiach will come in stages? And Rebbe responded that it's not true, that Moshiach will come suddenly. In 1970, Rabbi Beryl Baumgarten asked Rebbe, what about getting Social Security? He is able to get Social Security in 12 years, he turns 60. Should he now start paying for Social Security so be able to get Social Security at the age of 60, or is that a contradiction to his believing in the coming of Moshiach? I'm paying now for something that I'm not going to benefit from unless Moshiach doesn't come. Is that the right thing to do? Rebbe didn't exactly say it's the right thing to do. Rebbe just said that you should ask a rabbi if he will say that it's kosher according to the code of Jewish law that you're allowed to do, then you should do it. In other words, it sounds similar to what the previous Rebbe said about a similar question. Someone asked the previous Rebbe once, talking about the coming of Moshiach, and talking about how Moshiach is going to come immediately. At the same time, talking about the coming of Moshiach, also saying that everyone should build buildings and they should make places for Torah. And these buildings take years to build. So the previous Rebbe responded that if a tzaddik gomer, perfect tzaddik, doesn't say Shema tonight because he thinks Moshiach is coming tomorrow, he stops being a tzaddik. He's no longer a tzaddik. In other words, Hashem has a mission for you right now, and that's the mission you have to do. What happens tomorrow is something else. So this person, he has to set up his life, of course, as if Chas Hashem Moshiach is never going to come. That's the way he has to. That seems like the guidance the Rebbe gave him. It's similar to what the Rebbe said about the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the Jewish people travel with in the desert. That there were some places they stopped for 19 years, some places they stopped for a year, some places they stopped for a day. But even if they only stopped there for a day, they still put up the tabernacle completely. So too, every day you have to do what Hashem wants you to do today, and not think about, well, if Mashiach comes, things are going to change. Your plan has to be today, do what's happening today, even if God forbid Mashiach doesn't come today. On the other hand, that's not the way you're supposed to think. You're not supposed to think Mashiach's not coming. You're supposed to expect Mashiach to come. As ever told Rabbi Pellis, that if you add in mitzvahs that you're doing to bring Mashiach, that will make your faith in Mashiach and yearning for Mashiach to be more real. There was an older chassid who wrote the Rebbe in 1983. He said, I hope next year I will be able to again make contributions to the Rebbe's synagogue on Shabbos Bereishis. Rebbe crossed out the word hope and wrote, if God forbid Mashiach's delay has till next year, and then said, after all the storm that I've been making about the coming of Mashiach, that's what I've accomplished. In other words, you're asking such a question about next year. There was a woman who wrote the Rebbe, she was a little bit frightened about this letter she got. It was a chain mail, which said in the letter, to pass this letter out to 10 other people, or you'll be doomed. You have to send a letter to 10 other people, whatever the letter was, or you will be doomed. So she wrote to Rebbe about this, and Rebbe said, of course, she doesn't have to worry about being doomed by not sharing the letter. On the other hand, the Rebbe said everything that happens is by divine providence, and so we have to learn something from the idea of a chain letter. So it says in the Chidar, B'chaim Yosef David Azulai writes that in the evening prayer, in Shemona Esrei, in our prayers, we say to Hashem, we ask him to bring Mashiach. We say to Hashem, I want to bring Mashiach because I have hope for your salvation all day. So the Chidar says that it's now we're asking Hashem to bring Mashiach because of our merits. Rather, we're asking Hashem to bring Mashiach. And only because I'm hoping in you, only because I'm waiting for the coming of Mashiach, despite the fact that I may or may not have any merits, just the fact that I'm waiting, expecting coming of Mashiach itself, that itself, that's sufficient. So I said at that time that people should make chain letters and share the words of the Chidah, how important it is and how powerful it is that we turn to Hashem in our prayers to say, I want Mashiach to come, and the merit just that just because I'm hoping for salvation all day, that's already that itself causes and brings Mashiach closer. There was a Jew named Rabbi Daniel Dov Goldberg, was very inspired by Rebbe's talk, and he put together a pamphlet about the coming of Mashiach, about various teachings about it. And I remember when I was in yeshiva here in LA, this pamphlet was all over the place. And one of the things he wrote was that the Shpola Zayda once said to God, he said, God, the earlier sages of the Mishnah and the later sages of the Talmud all begged you to bring Moshiach, you didn't bring him. The Arizal asked you to bring Moshiach, you didn't bring him. The Baal Shem Tov and the Rebbe, the Mizmitch Maggid, asked you to bring Moshiach, and you didn't bring him. I swear to you, God, said the Shmuel Zayda, a day will come, the Jews will not want you, and they will not want your Moshiach, and then you'll have to bring Moshiach. That's what he wrote. Never said you should take that out. Apparently because it's too negative, talking about the lowliness of the Jewish people. And at the end of his pamphlet that he put out, he wrote that Jews need to turn to Hashem and say, Ad Masai. Ad Masai means until when will the exile go on? And why don't you bring Mashiach now? The Rebbe underlined the word now, emphasizing that, yes, we have to ask Hashem, why won't you bring Mashiach right now? That's what we have to turn to Hashem. In 1967, this woman wrote to the Rebbe, she said, if I would have the power to go up to heaven and to shake the worlds, I would do it. I would tell him, Hashem, shake the world is ready. So Rebbe responded, it is not the mission of a man, a Jewish man or woman, to go up to heaven and shake the heavens. If that rather the job of a Jewish man and woman is to make the world a home for God in this lowly world and with joy and gladness of heart. And if in order to make a home for God in this world with joy and gladness of heart, that's our job through Torah mitzvahs. Action is the main thing. And if the worlds have to shake, they'll shake anyways without your effort. And a woman, Rebbe says, it's called a keres habayis. She's called the mainstay of the home, the foundation of the home. Her first focus is things are going on in her home in a peaceful and pleasant way, in a peaceful way. With that is the path of Torah. As it says, the paths of Torah are peaceful in an orderly way, in a simple sense. The opposite of the opposite of holiness, which is when things are not in order, and to be done in this world lower than 10 handbreadths. It's an expression of Talmud, meaning something which is in a down-to-earth way. And that's where the Torah was given. In other words, in this world, in other words, your mission is not to jump up in outer space and to try to do something else. Rabbi Chaim Nachum Kunin, after the Rebbe spoke about 28th of Nisan, 1991, he said, I've done all that I can to bring Moshiach. So, and I give this over to you. Everyone should do whatever they can to bring Moshiach. So Chaim Nachum, he was able to inspire one Jew to do one mitzvah to bring Moshiach. And he wrote this to the Rebbe. The Rebbe responded that each Jew has to go from strength to strength in this direction, and this is time for this to be done. There was a guy named Shmuel Shmueli, and he was very inspired by the Rebbe's words, do everything you can to bring Moshiach. And he asked the Rebbe the following question, interesting question. The Rebbe said that at that famous talk, if there would be 10 Jews that would ask Hashem to bring Moshiach, so then Moshiach would immediately come. If they meant it, if 1 Jew, 2 Jews, 10 Jews would ask Hashem with an emes, with truth, they want Moshiach to come, Moshiach would come. So he writes there like this, I have an idea. I have this home in Borough Park. It's a 3-story home. I'll get 10 guys to come there. They won't be involved with the world so much. They'll dedicate themselves to Torah and prayer and think about what could happen to what they could do to bring Moshiach. They'll fast as much as they can. If they have to eat, they'll eat, and they'll only involved in trying to bring Mashiach, and let them do this to affect Hashem and to inspire and to cause His change. And they should stay away from their wives and just be in this home for 3 weeks. And this is what they're going to do. They'll farbrengen together. They'll spend time together. And that was his suggestion to the Rebbe. And he says, if you can't find a place near the Rebbe's shul, I have a place in Borough Park. It's 3 stories. It's a place they can all stay there. And he wrote to the Rebbe, I'm staying in the Rebbe's shul until I get an answer. So the Rebbe responded, fasting is not something that chassidim are supposed to do, as in other occasions, the Rebbe has mentioned that the Baal Shem Tov says that now is not a time for fasting. We need to help the body, not hurt the body. And then the Rebbe said about the whole letter, the general direction it was going, that our trajectory has to be amongst the Jewish people, with the Jewish people, Not to, he was saying, let them go away from their wives and go into this house and focus on Mashiach. That's not the trajectory we have to focus on. Our trajectory has to be to be with the tzibur. Al tifresh min tzibur. Torah says, don't separate from the community. So, and with joy and gladness of heart, and although he meant it, he meant well, but that wasn't the right direction that we need to have to bring Moshiach. We have to bring Moshiach, but it's not going to come by us like suddenly like stopping everything we're doing and just focusing on becoming Moshiach. Rather, it's about adding to our mitzvahs in down to earth practical way and asking Hashem with the truth from the heart that this is what we want to happen. There was a little girl. She went in with her mother to see the Rebbe. Her mother's name is Chana Kurzweil. She's the Rebbe's emissary in Nachasar Chabad for over 40 years. So in 1969, she went with her daughter Rivka to see the Rebbe. And the daughter was 10 months old. And during this audience, the Rebbe gave the Rebbe a list of requests for blessing. And the Rebbe gave her a blessing. After the blessing, the Rebbe started to check the hearing of the child. And the Rebbe started clapping his hands and banging on the desk. And when she came out of the Rebbe's room, the secretary asked her what was going on over there. And she didn't understand what was going on because she didn't know. She went back to Israel, and a month later she discovered, but when the babysitters, that the baby does not hear well. And but Baruch Hashem, this baby, despite not being able to hear well, Baruch Hashem grew, and as children, and all the children are all rabbis today, grandchildren. And the point I'm bringing out in the story is that the tzaddikim see things that we don't see. And although the mother herself, a mother knows her child. If anyone knows a child, it's a mother. And yet the Rebbe knew that something that the baby needed a blessing. The mother had no idea. The baby didn't hear, and the Rebbe sensed that the baby wasn't able to hear and was testing the hearing of the baby. In a similar way, we may not be so in touch with the coming of Moshiach. We may not be so in touch with the time that we're in and how close we are to this reality. Our hearing and our seeing may not be in the right place, but the Rebbe said that what we need to do in order to live with Moshiach and to expect Moshiach and to, as Rebbe told Rabbi Pellis, to do things, to do mitzvahs with this, with and having in mind of doing this mitzvah to help bring Moshiach, and especially to learn about Moshiach. Rebbe said that when you learn about something, the Torah has a power to change the nature of a person. So if you study Torah about the coming of Moshiach, even if you personally are more in the exile and you can't imagine the coming of Moshiach, and it seems so foreign to you, but the Torah has a power to change the nature of the person. And so by adding in the study of the coming of Moshiach, that will change your nature, and that will make you be able to live with Geula, live with this future, live with the vision of the future and in the present. And again, not by separating yourself from everybody, but in your day-to-day life, seeing through the opaque physical reality and feeling Hashem's presence in your life in a very down-to-earth, real way, so that every day is a day of Geula. Every day is day of redemption, where you're not encumbered by the way things appear, but instead you're able to see the Hashem's the rule of divine providence in your life. The time of the coming of Mashiach itself has different stages, and although it says in the Zohar and other books, other sources, that the resurrection of the dead will happen later on after the coming of Mashiach, however, the Talmud says that there are two different ways Mashiach can come. One way Mashiach can come is if we have merit, and one way he'll come is even if we don't have merit. And the Rebbe said that if Mashiach is going to come because of our merits, in other words, we deserve it, then we won't need to wait for the resurrection of the dead. Instead, in the very first, as soon as Mashiach comes, we will right away merit to see the resurrection of the dead. So may Hashem help that tonight, Mamish, we should see the coming of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead, B'hu B'Seicham, and Makar of Mamish, go to dancing with Shalayim, with Simchot Levav.